Hey, welcome to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. I'm Mark Williams. I'm joined by Shane Laflin and Jason Key, and we're glad to come back to you. Kind of been off a week from the show, but that's because we've been in the gym, and it's been a really great week, especially in Texas, but across the country with events all over the country and kids getting back in the gym and playing, and it's just good to be back. It's good to be in the gym. But we're gonna wrap Super 64, Heart of Texas, and just talk about those events. And Shane, kind of dive in a little bit. We had other tournaments, but these two tournaments were different in a lot of different ways. And share a little bit about how they were different.
Well, yeah. So we started that third week of June, got in Yellow Rose, let Freedom Ring the following week. Kind of seasoning tournaments, maybe for the most part relatively regional. But Heart of Texas started to bring in some teams that had to travel a little bit, mostly driving, and regional. The first two were regional as far as the state was concerned. This was regional as far as the country, maybe. And we had some teams come in from out of state, and then it's just the history there and the tradition of Heart of Texas and Super 64. The adjustment was made. Obviously, we missed Heart of Texas in April, which is normally a really big eval event at that period. And then Super 64 is usually the one at the beginning of July. So we went ahead and went two-day tournaments back to back, gave people the option to play in both if they wanted to, one or the other, which some people did. Those just have history. And a lot of times Heart of Texas is because it's the spring eval period and we got coaches going all over the place, it's been showcase schedule. This year we went ahead and went 16 team brackets in both Heart of Texas and Super 64. And so it kind of was playing for keeps from the opening tip. So people were seasoned, coaches were prepared, people had film prep opportunities because of the other two events being live streamed and then subsequently being on demand. Right. So you had coaches talking prep, and not only from their own film, but opponent film as well. And so it's unique in that sense. And as you said, it was great to be back in the gym. Take this time to shout out our tournament staff who's not with us every day. And then Kathy King, who coordinated all of that as far as the execution of our precautions, our scheduling, referees, workers, etc. Everybody was great. We've gotten a massive amount of compliments on how it was run. We can't thank everybody enough for that. Just all the pieces, well executed, well communicated, nice production, nice platform. We'll get into the stats of live streams and stuff like that later.
Yeah. Jason, thoughts, just observations from the 4 days that we were in the gym, just from a sky view. I mean, thoughts from those 4 days.
Yeah, first and foremost, just seeing how happy the kids were to be playing. Also, there is a socialization aspect to it of getting to see the ones that they don't see every day. Right. Get to see them in person real quick. You had quite a few current college players come back and watch some games, that kind of thing. So you could tell for all of us the thirst was there to see the game again. That's first and foremost. I think, again, we talked a little bit about this previously, but just the precautions that were taken. I received numerous texts. I think we all did, DMs, all of it, just really thanking us for being with the restrictions given and the environment we're in, being as cautious as we possibly could. And I think people were really appreciative of that. I thought the same for me, really the respect of the parents, of other people's space and that kind of thing. So really well done. Went off without a hitch, which is hard to do. We just didn't know how this all was going to go. So really thankful to everybody from our staff, what we do, the people Shane mentioned, the staff and Kathy that coordinates all that, to the coaches and players and everybody working together, right? You could see when we go through these times like this, the community aspect that we have in our bubble, right? And that really showed itself to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was interesting, watching the staff work and I mean, they were strong on certain things that we had to do for precaution and safety of everybody, but everybody was respectful. I know at Mansfield we had, the fire marshal come through numerous times to
Mhm.
count numbers and to make sure everybody's wearing their mask and and just a participation of everybody and the fact of wearing their mask and keeping distance was the only way that we were able to play. I mean, because at any point, fire marshal could have walked in and shut us down because people weren't wearing their mask or we were over capacity. So, I mean, from Premier Basketball, we can't thank not only the workers, but the parents and the coaches and the players and everybody making this a huge success these 4 days, just for the basketball community, not so much for Premier, but for the basketball community, because, it really was good for everybody's soul to be in the gym and play and to watch kids play and to play for something. And I mean, it's just uplifting and just encouraging
Mhm.
uh, to everybody. So now we're going to talk about players here later in the show, but I think and we talked about it earlier, but we're going to have to talk about two teams in particular. And there's two teams that won their division, both tournaments, the Heart of Texas and the Super 64. Um, and they did it in pretty convincing fashion. And the way that they played and the way that they executed against different styles. And so, Shane, why don't you take Cyfair, who won the 17U, and then Jason, we're going to come to you, talk about Team Lex Nation.
Well, yeah, as you mentioned, the two-day tournament, 16 team brackets, so 2 games a day. Cyfair ran the brackets both ways. Beat Oklahoma Swarm in the final of Heart of Texas, and then beat San Antonio Finest in a good one in the championship of Super 64. And not at full strength in the first one necessarily. Kendall Hunter didn't play, but then she came to play in Super 64. And unfortunately, Desiree Wooten, 22 out of Timberview, went down during Heart of Texas, so then she didn't play into the rest of that event, obviously, and then into Super 64. They've got a couple units that are so different because basically they've got a unit of upperclassmen and
Right.
then a unit of freshmen. And so, between Aaliyah Moore and Kendall Hunter and Amani Bartlett, Nia Wilson, you've got people who are Kendall's not committed, but everybody's college bound essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then you've got freshmen coming in that it was time for them to learn the pace of that game, that intensity at that level, and at times, to their credit, they played them together. And I thought that was a cool thing. Obviously, sometimes score dictated that they were able to do that. They didn't sub in fives necessarily, but just came out. The Cy-Fair can guard you. Cliff Warren's doing a good job as far as their execution and their game planning. You can hear him talking about different strategies from game to game. They turn you over, they eat the glass, and they definitely can get out in transition and score it because they all can put it on the deck. They all can shoot it a little bit. We watched, like I said, their freshmen have to learn a little bit. And I think some people would be worried to talk about or worried to admit maybe there was some struggle. To me, it's a really good thing because they had their freshmen out there playing that top bracket. So, you know, like you dominate two-day events consecutively says a lot about, what they're doing and the strength of their program there from the top. So it's pretty impressive.
It was, and they went different routes. The cool thing, with the 216 brackets, we made sure that they didn't have the same teams that kind of go through up. And so, in essence, I mean, they played, pretty much 8 different teams and different styles. And you talked about Hunter not being there for the Heart of Texas, and it really gave, Chloe and some other players, Desiree, and some time to kind of take the lead on it. And then when Kendall was there in the second one, I mean, you see all the pieces, how fun they would have been to see them for the whole spring and summer put together, and arguably would have had a really good shot EYBL title. With the inside game, with more than the guard play, and so it would have been interesting to see. But another one at the 16U division was Team Lex Nation, and we're very familiar with them, and we had seen them a couple weeks before and was kind of like, I don't know. And then there was one game, and it was all over from there. But Jason, talk a little bit about Team Lex Nation.
Well, first and foremost, they're 15U playing in the 16U bracket, and it's the magic of Joey Simmons and Bill Franey. Right, we've seen this pattern before.
Right,
we've seen how this goes, and you can see them gain. You could see them literally gaining rhythm as games went along. It's just incremental improvement over the course of each game. Now they start defensively. That's always been there. They are so good all the way through defensively that's where they get away from teams, because they just add stop after stop after stop, and the next thing you know, within just a subtle game period, it's a 10-0 run. That it was a 4-point game, it's now a 14-point game, and of course, Tristan Taylor. It starts with her. She is just a lockdown defender on the point, and then Savannah Catalan, perfect complement. They have to be as good as any 15U guard set defensively as there is. They are ridiculously good. And then you add in
that guarded like that.
And then you get Jersey Bryant comes in as for one of the two, and Jersey's a rugged defender, right? And so there's not a huge drop off. And then you get on the wings, and of course you got Kylie, who's ultimate length and skills, silky smooth offensively, but really long defensively. And then down low, you got Addie Brown, and you add in Jalen Bristow. She makes Shane's heart pump at times. So good.
Got a breakout party, man. And then, how can you be? You got to be happy for a kid that just has a breakout party in a big stage.
And then you add Taylor Hagan in, who comes and subs for both, gives them instant offense, right? And then just rugged rebounder.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's complementary basketball, and everybody complements each other. They lock you down defensively, and they've improved in 3 weeks offensively as much as you can improve. It's like a 500% improvement as far as efficiency. I'd love to see the efficiency
on both ends, because they came with the athleticism to guard, but they weren't as efficient defensively as they are now. Like you said, it was always incremental. So each one of them, as you mentioned, the Joey and Franny Magic, each one of them has been challenged individually, right? So even down to the bench, they've asked Riley to get down lower and start to rebound like they know she can. She missed some time with a lower leg injury for the better part of last year and into the school year, so she's getting herself back in. But even there was improvement from Yellow Rose to the end of Super 64, measurable.
Yeah.
And they started defending actions well, and they started talking. And people underestimate what stops do to build leads. Right. It's not about your scoring all the time. It's your stops. It's your consecutive stops. And you brought that up. That's how you control a game.
It's the magic of basketball.
And yes, this is Premier, and Joey is the founder, and there's no question. But credit where credit is due. The first thing I said to him on the phone on Monday was, don't you dare play another 16U team the rest of the way. It doesn't.
Oh, you don't need to.
Go get some lumps, or go surprise some people, because you've run the market.
Yep.
Right. Well, and for us, we get to see them so much. I told them the weekend before they were awful, because they were, because there was no buy-in, there was no competing, there was no we're playing hard, there's no we had to prove. They were just kind of going through the motions, and when they beat Pro Skills, it was all on from there.
Well, and it's the young kid mentality of, how they felt about their opponent.
Right.
But then felt what it felt like to play right at their pace in that game, to your point, Mark. And it's yo, we should play like that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of fun. So
And it opens up the floor. The game becomes easier from a decision-making standpoint because you're
Right.
playing at a faster pace.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and then you got any team that Bill Franey's a part of is going to guard, and they're gonna share the basketball. He and Joey will not stand for selfish shots,
Yep.
and if you don't guard and rebound,
Yeah.
that's a good way to piss a couple old guys off.
Yeah.
I need that. Like I've watched them fuss up 16, giving up an O board because that's the right way to coach that kid who didn't go get her rebound, because that's what she needs to do to provide herself with opportunities. And that was after the fact, after they ran the table. This was down in San Antonio when they were handling a team, and a kid gave up an O board, and Joey blew one. Timeout. I mean, what are we doing?
Yeah, why are we doing that?
We're not going to allow this team into double figures. What are we doing?
Right. You know, I
Much respect.
had the opportunity of seeing those teams and being there in Mansfield, but I went to Frisco and I got to go Drive Nation, so I had to travel. I drew that straw, but I enjoyed it. One thing that I noticed just from a bird's eye view is, man, the 2023 class for Texas in this area is pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Like it's going to be deep.
Yeah.
And
talking on the Sci-Fair Youngs,
Yeah.
when you add Amarachi Kempson, who's on their 16U, who's the 23,
right.
that's another piece. So they're good too. Like them and Joey seems like it's an inevitable battle.
It's inevitable they're coming. Oh, absolutely. And I mean 23s, 24s down to 25s. You know, I saw Sci-Fair Bush, 15U Bush, and was really impressed with multiple young teams. And so, you know, really from our state and from our area, there is a ton of talent coming out. But that 23 class has a chance to be really, really good. And so, you know, just from a bird's eye view, that's something, you know, I got the opportunity to see. So, hey, we're going to take a quick break. During the break, you're going to see all the champions from the Super 64. But when we come back, we're going to talk specific players. We're going to talk about future events coming up with Premier Basketball. So stay with us and join us again after this break. Welcome back. Mark Williams, Shane Laflin, Jason Key. Thanks for tuning in to From the Baseline with Premier Basketball. For the break, we talked about the Heart of Texas Super 64, and now we want to get into some players who stood out to us during these 4 days. And we'll start with you, Jason. Standout players from these 4 days. Who caught your eye?
First, I'm going to start with a couple of uncommitted 21s. Just because they're uncommitted in 21, so get it out there. But Gia Adams playing for Barber, for Stephen Barber at Under Armour. Gia's really skilled, small guard, but man, she scores the ball in bunches. Really had a I cannot remember who they were playing, but a game where she was cooking, hit I think 6 threes in that game I watched. And then on down to Ray's event.
Drive Nation, maybe?
I think it was Drive Nation, but had 24 against Finest in a back and forth game. So had a really good
Ed the shooter.
Yeah, no doubt. Who loves her, right? So a really solid week of putting the ball in the hole against legit competition. And she's been on my radar for quite a while. I've seen her a couple times in high school tournaments and that sort of thing. So had a really good week. And then Hope Lamel, who's on Lady Drive Nations, the Jet team, playing the point guard, but combo guard that had a really solid week. Kind of running the show for Jet. Really good defender. Solid all-around play. They had the long week. They ran the whole gamut, playing in all 3 tournaments, including Ray's tournament after ours, R2. So had a really solid week. Saw that she got a offer today. So I expect maybe 1 or 2 more, that kind of thing, hopefully for her. But she had a really solid week. So a couple 21s to make sure you don't lose track of if you're looking for a guard.
22s? What you got?
Oh, 22 for me, Bailey Maupin all day long. Yeah, so point guard U. So she's at Texas U. I mean, she has a me and Shane watching her, and Shane said, man, just her vision at the beginning of transition. It does not take, if you are open, she will find you. Most of that happens before she gets the ball to the 3-point line of her opponent. I mean, she's a kick-up guard, never over dribbles, efficiency personified. Austin Johnson, the coach there, ran a couple of nice sets where he inverts her to the post if you put a smaller on her, right. Set up for the short jumper. Yes. She has all the makings. I mean, she is special in the open court with her decision making.
She is fantastic in the open court, and knows how to read the balance of the floor. So split it, sees the 3 over here, the 2 over here, or the 1 and the 2, and knows how to go just make that defender pay attention to her to create for somebody. And if they don't make the right decision, she scores it or pulls up because she's got the bounce on the jumper. And that is so valuable. It can't be understated.
No doubt. And the eye, what Shane's referring to, the eye manipulation of the defenders, where she moves you with her eyes and her actions to set you up for what's going on either beside you, behind you, whatever the case may be, to create angles on the passes. My 23 is Zariah Lee Akosu, the Amarillo kid that plays for Pro Skills. Zariah has really developed. I really love the pull-up mid-range jumper that she added. She's had the 3 ball. She could get to the hole, that kind of thing. But the pull-up now, she's scoring on all 3 levels. She keeps the game simple, right? She gets by you, gets to the spot, puts it in the hole time and again. Really good offensively. Has really good size on the defensive end, competes. Really solid 2-way player.
Classically skilled. And she, nice rise on the jumper. Footwork, like Euro steps and all this stuff is getting real played out to me. People are trying to do it through trees, like actually cemented objects in the ground that don't move, and it's driving me nuts a little bit. Yes. She uses it appropriately as a timing mechanism, not as a prayer. And she's good, and just the face is calm and competitive. She's tough. Right. Really, really jumped up for me.
Yep. And then my 24 would be Talaya Parker for BTR 15U. Long, really skilled on the wing, but she's got some post finishing ability to her as well. So really flexible position wise, and not filled out yet, long and lanky, and you could see that she's going to continue to grow a little bit. She just has all the elements of that physically, and really skilled. I mean, that BTR 15U team really, really good.
Right.
And just they were playing a little bit older teams, that kind of thing, and she just continues to compete. She's physically outmatched as far as strength, especially against some of those older teams. That means nothing to her, right? Yeah. Fought right through that wall, kept playing, and that team as a whole did that. So she really jumped out at me.
Yeah, you got to think that team's there's 123 and they're all 24s with a
Woo.
couple 25s and one 2026.
Yeah, yeah.
And like a lead guard playing at the 25.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to talk about her in a
25
second.
at the lead guard, I should say. Yeah.
Woo.
Tough. Coached
Yeah.
hard. Tough. Made a run, a legit run in both brackets where their loss to advance to the final was, single digits, less than 4. One to Joey and one to Pro Skills 16U, and I believe it went to overtime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you got, Shane?
Rolling into let's talk 21s, as Jay said, some uncommitted ones, and I'm usually not the guy who, obviously when we see offers, it's great, but this year particularly, it's great, right? So like we see them throughout the year. I'm not always a big parade your offers type, but this year I like, given the circumstances, I'm really liking to see it, especially with like a Hope Lamel or a 21. Two 21s I want to mention. Stephanie Mosley out of Timberview and Drive Nation. I think that she's one of these maybe late bloomers or just making an opportunity of a great stage. Or this is just played behind or with good players, so hasn't always had the chance to maybe make the plays. She guards, she rebounds, she pushes the ball, she competes, she does what Edwina asked her to do. I can't suggest enough for people not to overlook her. She's 5'10", 5'9", 5'10", but long, bouncy, and I just think she's going to be a good low to mid-major player that's going to help you win. And so don't miss there. And then Crystal Smith, Cy-Fair Houston, shifty, quick, scores it. First game of the day, Brittany was hitting me from court 4. Hey, we got one over here. Not really knowing how old she was or anything, but she was putting in the buckets. And I missed the first half of their game because I was watching another one. But the home office of Athlete Vision kind of clipped that first half for me, and I was able to kind of watch it periodically. She was putting on a show right out of the gate. So another one to know. If you're still looking for those 21s that can make an impact, especially low to mid-major levels. 22, Christine Iwala, excuse me. I hope I'm saying that correctly. San Antonio Finest, San Antonio Reagan. I've watched her throughout last summer into the high school season, throughout the high school season, and into this club, and she's getting better. Very smart, the IQ, the touch, and she eats rebounds. She carves out space, and she eats rebounds. If we're talking about where she's headed, where we're developing, she's got to finish better. But the free throw touch is nice. The initial finishing, we got to crank that percentage up a little bit. But she'll go and get her own miss. But, man, she eats boards, no questions asked. 23, going to mention, and we talked about it earlier, Jalen Bristow out of Wichita Falls, Team Lex, just a breakout party. We heard about her during the year, went and saw her. You see some potential. What I really like is she's young and confident, and just she's not physically, like you mentioned with Talia Parker. She's not going to outstrength you right now, but she still will out-tough you, and she'll take a bang, and that ball stays, and she finishes it high. It's a little unorthodox, but it comes out of her hand nice. Maybe one of my favorite plays of the entire week was she kind of caught it in the mid-post, went to her turnaround jumper, and got bumped a little bit. And as she rose up, Kylie Marshall's defender turned her head. Kylie backdoored from the corner, and Jay dumped it down, and it was beautiful. And blocking shots, she'll get down on a switch and guarded guard. She's great in the hedge. She goes and battles for rebounds.
And you can see her adjust to game speed every game.
Yeah.
Her mind starts getting a little quicker and a little quicker and a little quicker. You just see the incremental improvement.
It's an iron sharpens iron type of situation. She just hasn't been on the floor all the time with maybe 10 people who can go or are going to play at the next level, and she stepped it up. So all signs point to a major stock riser there. Got to give Kylie Marshall a shout out. I've been on her about playing harder more frequently. She's one of those ones that will absolutely judge a book by its cover as far as the opponent's concerned and play accordingly. When she cranks it up, she's pretty good. So that will determine her ceiling, is how often she'll play hard, because she's got all the tools. 24, Vegas Bulldogs, and I want to look at the, as Tony Kornheiser says, we're going to the notepad because I want to say this right. Soroya Ajamale, Vegas Bulldogs, going to end up at Centennial, and then Kanaya Boyd. Ojamale's lengthy, bouncy, just got a natural resilience about her, score mentality. Kanaya Boyd's one of those ones I feel like in any gym, any backyard court, any blacktop could just go hoop. She's got a feel to her. They're both young and don't want to oversell it, but they did some things that you just like about like who they are as a tough-nosed player. And then they accept coaching from their coach hard. And they were a late addition because the event they were going to got canceled. They called, got in, and then had to play in a division that was a little bit higher. That whole team's 24s and 25s, a lot like a BTR. And they were in every game, and they were playing hard. And we appreciate them coming back. They're coming back this weekend to Gary Blevins, so that's pretty cool. Jay, you'll get eyes on them this weekend. You mentioned. And then Mark, you mentioned you're going to touch on Cy-Fair Coop. Saxy. I just stopped. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and you know, I got to see the olds and the young, and you know, a couple 21s that stuck for me. One was Mason Jones with DC Queens, West Texas. Tez does a great job with them, and a plethora of guards, but just a crafty little guard, can knock it down off the catch and the bounce. And so she was one. Another 21 that caught my eye, I think it was on Tuesday morning, is like the first game, was San Antonio finest Aja Leak, a 2021, 6'2", long, and just plays hard, runs the floor, rebounds.
Offered her, I think.
Yeah, and I think she picked up some offers from the weekend. But dude, just a kid who is a blue collar, get after it, competitive kid who's gonna make practices and games, just gonna make you better. And so she popped to me as far as 21s. 2022's Jalen Bates, New Mexico Elite. I know that's kind of, they didn't play in the top divisions, but I've seen Jalen for a long time, being from New Mexico. Just a crafty guard, can really score it. You know, she could have left and played on some bigger teams, but she plays for her dad. She plays with her friends, and just a really skilled, hardworking kid.
An interesting point. I had multiple texts on her from college coaches. So it goes to show you too, the coaches aren't just watching one court.
No,
right? They're flashing around because they asked me to go watch a little bit of her, and I did that while we were texting back and forth on some things. So
yeah, and you know, I know college coaches are going to look and go, well, she's small, but dude, she is productive, and there with her team, and there at the high school that she's at. I mean that. So she was a 2022, 2023, two kids, Paris Guillory, Lake City Prep. Y'all both have talked about her because y'all got to see her different high school stuff and different things. First time that I saw her was impressive. Just really has a really good motor, creates off the bounce, gets down the lane, good passes. And so really a good kid coming out of Louisiana. Another 2023, Ashlyn Crabtree. I caught the championship game of their division, and she went off. I mean, she had 25 plus points, hit multiple threes. I mean, just a kid that is definitely under the radar, plays for Texas True Hoops. But
her mom.
Yeah, and so her mom coaches.
That's Crabtree's daughter.
Yeah.
Her mom played at Texas.
Yeah, mom played, and daughter has a chance. And really crafty, but can shoot it. She really played well in the championship game, which I'd seen them a couple times, but in the championship game, she just took herself to another level. And so that's a 2023. 2024, Jason talked about BTR a little bit earlier, but Kaya Smith was the other 6'1" wing forward for them. that was, Batman and Robin with Parker. And they were both just tenacious, I think is a good word to put them on the boards and attacking the basket. But another 2024 that really caught all of our eyes is Justice Carlton. And I'm telling you, she's on a loaded team. So let's just back up. Cy-Fair Nike Coupe is loaded.
I've been talking about him for 2 years, right? I've been telling you about him.
Absolutely, for 2 years. And they were playing up in the 16U division. And, they took some lumps and some L's that they're not used to. But I'm telling you, from Sunday to Wednesday, you saw their growth immensely. And they were already a talented team as being 24s. But they were able to press people and athlete people and not really have to run sets and be in help side defense. And they always didn't get, if you missed a rebound, you had to pay the price, those type of things. They played up 16U, and you could see them grow from Sunday to Wednesday. And their execution, their importance of taking care of the ball, their importance of ending possessions on the defensive end. And Justice Carlton is one of many players on Cy-Fair Coop's team, but she was phenomenal.
She became the foundation, like the beginning of Heart of Texas.
Absolutely.
We all the presence was there, but
absolutely,
as the games progressed, she became the foundation. And as teams watched and got to know them, and they needed a bucket, they knew to get the ball in her hands and a strong finish. Coop doesn't miss a chance to coach, to teach. That guy's energy, he does a fantastic job. I love watching good coaches, and he is a good basketball coach.
And you heard him multiple times in team huddles and after the game telling them, suck it up. This isn't anything. Like, we are getting better. There's no business for us to go play our own
perspective moments, not just trying to micromanage coach them.
He was like, pick your head up, learn from it. Pick your head up, learn from it. Pick your head up, learn from it. Get better. That's all we're doing. And you heard him speak that over and over and over again.
Yep.
And on Justice, one thing, something you don't see very often anymore. Everything is two hands. 2 hands, 2 feet. But, I mean, both hands on every single rebound, chin. Rebound, chin, come at the elbows if you want to.
Oh, yeah.
Nasty.
And she just owned the boards. Like, there wasn't second possession. She learned that, okay, I'm bigger than everybody else, and a lot of it can just fall to me. But, no, I got to go get it. Like, I'm in a good position, but I have to go get it. And
if you got an 8th grader who's bigger than everybody, rebounding outside of their area, which we have 21s and 22s that we still complain about, like, that means something legitimate for winning at the level.
Absolutely.
Monster.
Absolutely. So, 2024, 2025, I've talked about Lofton, Zaya Lofton before. I've talked about her before. But in the championship game, when she hit, I think, 4 threes that were literally nothing but the bottom of the net, it was like, okay. And I already thought she was good, but you could just see her go. But another one I talked about BTR again is Sanaya Richardson. And now she's come off an injury, but you could never tell.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
I mean, you talk about a pit bull defender, get after you defender, handle the rock, pushes the rock, is relentless. It's just a go. Like, you better stay up with me or I'm going to take it, and no matter what. If you want shots, we play at my pace. And she was outstanding. And really the last thing was, we had a UCLA division, which was like 13U division, that was loaded up and down. And there was players all over. I know they were in Frisco and stuff, but, I mean, you want to see some future 25s and 26s and those who just want to go see it and watch. Dude, there was a game with Pro Skills and Cy-Fair late. I'm talking about, this was like the 7:40 on Wednesday night game in the back corner on court 22, and they were getting after it. But Lady Razorbacks, BTR's young teams, another one, Pro Skills, Cy-Fair. Texas U has a kid that has a chance to be special. We'll see how she develops, but she really has a
Is
chance.
that Keith's Texas U team? Keith Russell?
Yes.
Or no.
Yeah, he coaches that young team.
Yep.
Yeah, she's out of Malakoff. Is it his big?
Yeah, it's his big.
Yeah, it's big out of Malakoff. She does have a chance.
Yeah, she has a chance. But Oklahoma PWP 24 Red ended up winning it, and but that whole division was a slugfest. And so, man, there's players all over, 21s all the way down to 26s, and if you miss some of the action or you want to see some of the teams and stuff, Athlete Vision, it's on demand.
It is all loaded. It's ready to go. I was already queuing up some stuff today. The event had the two events together, 80,000 views, which is phenomenal. And then I didn't get the count after the last day of Super 64. I need to get that. 225 college programs, so a few coaches from each. So do the math, maybe 3 coaches from each, so 600 something coaches, but 225 programs. And we had some non-D1 coaches actually on site that were permitted to be there. Yeah. So the platform we wanted to deliver was there, and we're pretty proud of that. That's fantastic.
And speaking of platform, shout out to Blessed Dillingham.
That's why I pulled it out a second ago.
And so Blessed blew up. She had LeBron and Dwayne Wade and on and on. Patrick Beverly. On and on it goes about just defensive possession, where she tried to guard everybody that touched the ball.
She literally she was a one-man press and rotated and was like, oh, you're not coming? Then I'm just going to guard you. So viral.
I was going to be interested if they turned it over if she started guarding her own team. I mean, she was guarding whoever touched the ball.
It didn't matter.
So
awesome. What
ESPN blew up.
Sports Center put it out, and then ESPNW put it out, and we got a couple notifications on it. I believe like Sunday morning or something, it was kind of going all over the place. And by Sunday night, it had been all over. And then you start seeing LeBron and the guys, they expressing their appreciation in emojis from their NBA bubble.
Absolutely. And ultimately, these 4 days gave the kids a tremendous platform. College coaches, players, and it's been great to see all the offers coming in, which has been really, really cool. And so, I know going forward this weekend we got the Gary Blevins, and it's going to be a lot of great talent there. And we talked about some of the teams that are going to be there. But Shane, real quick, hit on we got the Prime event, and then we added Prime Event East. Share a little bit before we wrap up the show on that.
Yeah, so we've got Gary Blevins, as you mentioned. We've got grand finale at the end of the month. Those are both in Mansfield. Prime event, which will be August 22nd, 23rd in Dallas, which is the Cross Circuit Championship. We kind of branded last year. It was fantastic. I think we'll have obviously a little bit less of the national travel in, but it will be well represented by the different circuits. And we've got some teams traveling in, but maybe it is a little bit more regional. So Matt Shockett called and said, hey, I've got the Spooky Nook venue. We love this idea, this concept. What do you think about doing a Prime Event East? He and I went back and forth, took 5 minutes, said, let's make a run at it. So that'll be the 14th through the 16th at Spooky Nook, rather than expecting East Coast teams to move. Spooky Nook's in an area where it's drivable for a lot of these teams, and it is picking up massive amounts of steam. So we'll come back. We'll probably talk that in another show. But that's both of them are going to be really good. I spent a lot of today on the phone with teams that just confirming attendance and people registering, and that's going to be a fun event. We're going to have some top level competition, head-to-head, some matchups we haven't seen. Going to see a Banshees 21 team that hasn't played. I think it might be the only event that they play in this year. And like I said, so we'll talk teamless at another time. But yeah, shout out to Matt and working well with those guys. And so that's going to be cool. Prime event obviously made an impression last year because the concept's now stretching a little bit. So that'll be kind of a cool, 10-day period or whatever, week period, where we can really focus on the Prime event, talking about matchups, making sure the little quadrants are advantageous as far as who plays who team-wise, player-wise, just like we did last year. And I think it ended up a real hit. And obviously now that there's so much focus on the live stream and things, I feel like the audience will actually be bigger than last year. So that's going to be a fantastic deal. So yeah, that's what we got going forward. The rest adjustable. I hope everybody's staying safe. Shout out to everybody. Cannot forget to mention Brittany Graham, who was behind the camera for 4 straight days, prep before, making flyers at night, recognizing players, putting up her photo gallery because these people want the pictures. She's got, you know, guys there working her shirt booth that are all going Division One. You know, good group, great personalities that came. So shout out Britt and our whole PBR team. Our court monitors were ADs, principals, head coaches at high schools. Shout out to the Mansfield community for taking care of us as far as and Frisco and Drive Nation as well.
Jay, you got something before we get off?
Man, just back on Britt. She's a uniter of basketball. She gets boys to come to girls events, girls to go to boys events, and she's a basketball uniter. Something that I try to do on my level. She's taken to a different level because she's more age equivalent and all that. And it's so refreshing to feel the positivity that she brings into the gym and what it does. We're a community, right? And so the love part of the game, the guys, when they're not selling T-shirts because it's, right now because of the restraints of the COVID, they're attentive to every game. They're jumping in, watching games. They're really into it. She can play. They're over there doing their own evaluations on who can hoop and who can't. And so, man, it brings so much to the game.
Absolutely.
And so just shout out to Britt for what she's doing.
Absolutely. Well, hey, thanks for tuning in. For Shane Laflin, Mark Williams. Thanks for tuning in from the Baseline with Premier Basketball.